NFL season is over with, and now the push to the NBA season starts now with NBA All-Star break just starting this weekend. So I'm going to give you my title contenders midway through the NBA season and what teams you can look out for to maybe make a push to be a title contender going into the playoffs because it's the final push now. Regular season games matter, seeding matters, and who's available, who's not for your teams matters. So first, let's start with the Eastern Conference title contenders. Uh, Boston Celtics number one, and then it's just a bunch of, Milwaukee Bucks, 76ers, Miami Heat. I'm throwing the Bucks in there just because of Giannis and Dame. I mean, that's the main reason. We'll get into a little bit more detail about all these teams, but let me just give you the list here. Philadelphia 76ers, if Joel Embiid is available, they're a title contender. If he's not available, they're not a title contender. It's just that simple. It's reported that he's going to come around back April. I don't know how healthy he's going to be, but that's just the start. I got the Miami Heat in there. I know they're towards the bottom of the seeding, but that's how they were last year. And they beat the Milwaukee Bucks, the number one seed, and went to the NBA Finals, and beat the Celtics going there. So Heat culture, playoff Jimmy, that's a real thing. And getting into a little bit more detail about, the Eastern Conference teams. Um, for the Boston Celtics, this is the year. I mean, they have everything they need and then some. Milwaukee Bucks aren't as good as they have been. They're going through a lot of struggles. Joel Embiid's hurt. I don't really buy the New York Knicks or the Cleveland Cavaliers. They need to do it in the playoffs for me to believe it and buy it. Top to bottom, Celtics have the deepest starting five with Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, they added Drew Holiday, they added, which was huge. Derek White, which they have had for a few seasons. And, Tatum Brown and Porzingis can all drop 30 on any given night. They have three guys that can legitimately score the basketball. And they have two perimeter guys in Drew Holiday and Derek White that can absolutely lock up defenders, from 1 through 3, 1 through 4, maybe even. So we've seen Drew Holiday guard Giannis Antetokounmpo in the regular season a few times. So this team is deep as it pertains to the starting five. The bench gets a little iffy. So if they lost a Porzingis or a Drew Holiday or one of these guys in the starting lineup, it could become an issue and a problem for the Boston Celtics. But they still have enough firepower to get to the NBA Finals with this starting five. Al Horford coming off the bench, veteran guy. Joe Mazzulla, second year as an NBA head coach. I think veteran experience for an NBA coach matters in playoff situations, in tight games, going against guys that have won titles like Malone, like a Doc Rivers, like a Nick Nurse. All of the guys have won titles, so I think experience matters, and he has that experience now. Dropping 3 games to the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then winning 3 straight games to force a Game 7 to get to the NBA Finals. That matters, and I think him having that experience is going to help the Celtics a lot this postseason. Um, and moving on to the Milwaukee Bucks. Um, for those of you who don't know, the Milwaukee Bucks are my favorite basketball team. Them and the Lakers. Too odd two odd teams to be favorites of. Maybe I'll tell a story in the future, but you know, this Milwaukee Bucks team is not doesn't have a chance to win the NBA Finals. They made two major mistakes this offseason and why they are not a title contender. And it has nothing to do with Dame. Dame was the perfect piece they needed. I've been saying for all this year and all of the offseason, why aren't the Bucks getting in the Dame sweepstakes? Dame would be a perfect fit with Giannis. Dame and Giannis have much respect for each other. Both those guys really don't want to leave their city, the team that drafted them. So I thought Dame was a perfect piece for the Bucks, and I think he will be a perfect piece for them in the future. But the two main problems the Bucks brought on themselves was one, hiring Adrian Griffin. He was not the coach. He should not have been a first year head coach with this veteran team, this championship caliber team that has won a championship. And for Mike Budenholzer, So if you were gonna fire Mike Budenholzer, you could not have gotten Adrian Griffin. It just didn't make sense. They should have gotten Nick Nurse, who was in Philadelphia right now, killing it with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. That was the guy the Bucks needed to hire, and he was in the final two, candidates with for the Milwaukee Bucks job with Nurse and Griffin, and you know, Bucks went with Griffin, and it was not the right move. And now you hire Doc Rivers, and it's going to take a full year to even get this group meshed together and figure out his rotations and his play style and schemes with this team. And it's just too hard to do it in the middle of an NBA season. So basically, when they hired Griffin, I thought it was going to be a punt year. After the defense looked so porous, through this first half of the season, and then how you hire Doc Rivers, and it's going to take a full off season to really get this team and this chemistry going. The second mistake was signing Chris Middleton to that extension. Um, I love Chris Middleton. He was a big part of the championship run against the Suns, and he was a great sidekick for Giannis. But once he got injured in that Boston Celtics, Eastern Conference Finals, it was something with his leg. I can't remember if it was knee or his Achilles or what it was, but ever since that injury happened, he's just not looked the same. He's injured right now. He's missed 5 games already. Um, the Bucks could use all that money to actually build out a bench, go get some youth players, which they're just so old. There are a bunch of dinosaurs out there playing. That is a huge blow for the Milwaukee Bucks. And now I don't know how you're going to move them. I don't know how you're going to move Chris Middleton. And if what you get back, you're not going to get a lot in return. So, because you're going to have to match up the salaries. So, um, that was a big mistake by the Milwaukee Bucks in re-signing Chris Middleton to that extension. So those are the two big things for the Bucks that have just punted this season. And in the offseason, I think they should try to move Middleton. And then I don't think there's another coach you're gonna get besides Doc Rivers. So hopefully they can figure it out. And next year, I think the year the Bucks can make a real impact and be a real threat to win the title. Moving on to the 76ers. Speaking of Nick Nurse, he's in Philadelphia now. They're killing it. Tyrese Maxey looks like an absolute all-star with James Harden leaving the Clippers. It was honestly the best move for both James Harden and Philly. Wasn't a good fit. Maxey's just looked amazing. Joel Embiid was playing like an MVP. He probably was the MVP until he got hurt. Um, Tobias Harris is playing a lot better too. He's really getting aggressive on the offensive end. This Nick Nurse has these guys just playing on all cylinders, and even with Embiid down, they're still hanging on and competing in games. If Embiid comes back healthy, which he has to come back healthy and 100% like he was before the injury, um, then I think Philadelphia could be a real threat to the Celtics and be the legitimately only threat to the Boston Celtics. So if Embiid comes back healthy, that's always been a question mark when it comes to playoff time. Is Embiid healthy? Does he have the motor? Can he stay in games? Can he not drift away in the fourth quarters? And you know, that's been the biggest question for Philadelphia. And Nick Nurse, um, he's gonna have to manage Embiid. I mean, he's managed Kawhi Leonard when he won in 2019 with the Toronto Raptors. So if there's a guy that can do it, Nick Nurse can be the guy to do it. So they got the championship coach in Philadelphia now. They got that second star, emerging second young star in Tyrese Maxey. Tobias Harris is playing a lot better. Kelly Oubre has been great for the 76ers as well. I like Philly a lot. They got a lot of guys. It just comes down to Embiid. It's just that simple. And with the Miami Heat, it's just a Heat culture and in playoff Jimmy and Eric Spoelstra. I mean, if they get in the dance, they're a problem to beat 4 times out of 7 games. And they'll be in that fight no matter who they play. They don't care. They're not scared of anybody. They're not scared to play anywhere. They don't care who's on the court with them on their own team. They'll play to the hardest and to the best of their abilities. And if they get 2 games on you, it becomes a big problem because, it's hard to mean 4 times. And if they can get 2 on you, it's gonna be real serious. Whoever they play. Moving on to the West, and the favorites I have coming out of the West it's a very short list. It's the Denver Nuggets, defending champions, and the Los Angeles Clippers. I said I was a Lakers fan earlier. It pains me to say that, but I got Los Angeles Clippers involved in that. And then the Phoenix Suns. And I have this as a very short list because I just don't buy the Timberwolves and the Thunder. I know they're, top of the standings in the West right now. Show me in the playoffs. I mean, I'm the type of person where if you can do all this stuff in the regular season, win all these games, you can't do in the playoffs, doesn't matter. You're not a contender. If you can't do it in the playoffs, you're not a contender. So the Timberwolves have struggled, in the playoffs. I mean, they've made play-ins, they've made been the seventh or eighth seed, and then they get bounced out, maybe don't even win a game. So they got to win a series. Same with the Thunder. Thunder are really, really young. They got a lot of draft picks coming in, so they might be a year or two away. And I believe that the Thunder will eventually be contenders, but just not right now. Not with these veteran teams, like I just mentioned with the Nuggets, Clippers, and Suns. And going into more detail, I mean, Nuggets just have that championship experience. They're defending champions. Jokic, Jamal Murray, one of the best duos in the league. Jokic, arguably the MVP again right now. Um, each player on their team as well just knows their role. Michael Porter Jr. exactly knows what he needs to do. He's there for the 3-pointers. He's there to make transition buckets, and he just knows his role. Aaron Gordon, same thing, locking up the best wing player on the other team. Playing defense, getting rebounds. Hitting a 3-pointer here and there. Jamal Murray and Jokic just take all of these guys that fit with the system and just make it crispier and more fluid. And Michael Malone, he's a great coach. He's a championship coach. He knows what he's doing as well. So there's not much else to say about the Denver Nuggets, though. They'll be in the hunt to repeat for an NBA title. Moving on to the Clippers, which was kind of at the beginning of the year, no one really took seriously. I didn't either. But they struggled. They got James Harden, and they struggled a little bit earlier on in the year. But now they're playing arguably the best basketball on any team in the NBA right now, and that's partly because PG and Kawhi and Harden and Westbrook and all these guys, they're staying healthy. You know, if these guys stay healthy, they're in the contender, category year in and year out. So if these guys are able to stay healthy, that's a big if. Kawhi and PG have had some injury history. So if these guys are, able to stay healthy, they have the guys to go get it. I mean, I mentioned Kawhi, PG, James Harden, Norman Powell, he's won a title. Zubac, I mean, he's a great center. Terrence Mann, Mason Plumlee, Coffee, Bones Highland. I mean, they have a really, really deep team. I know they have PJ Tucker on there. He doesn't really want to be on the team. He'll probably get bought out and end up on another contender or whatever. Um, but they have a deep, deep team. And if Kawhi and PG can stay healthy and perform on a consistent basis, and Harden can get him the ball, and Kawhi and PG don't have to facilitate the offense, um, they'll be in that Western Conference Finals, I believe. Um, Going against probably the Denver Nuggets or something like that. And I mean, Harden has just taken so much weight off of PG and Kawhi. They don't have to run the offense. They have like a legit point guard now. And Harden has done a great job in transitioning now, being able to be this 35 point scorer in Houston or Brooklyn and transition, to Philly and now with the Clippers to being this playmaking, offensive guard and facilitator. I mean, it's a great thing to see. Norman Powell's a great veteran, 3-and-D player. Westbrook, great spark plug off the bench. I mean, they have some guys and they can compete in the Western Conference and be a title contender. Lastly, the Phoenix Suns. And this is just based off of Kevin Durant, Booker, and Beal. I mean, and those three guys are going to have to be healthy, or if one of them's not healthy, they don't have a chance. So all three of these guys have to be healthy, and if they are healthy, and they're combining for 90 points total throughout the playoffs, they're going to be a tough beat. I mean, all three guys are dropping 30 points. I mean, that's between 80 and 90 points per game. I mean, that that's that's hard. That's hard to beat. It's a lot of offensive firepower. Their defense is not great. They're gonna have to completely lean on the offensive end. Grayson Allen, good 3-and-D guy. Yusuf Nurkic, solid NBA big man, but doesn't change the narrative or anything like that. So, if all three of those guys have to stay healthy and drop, between 80 and 90 points every single game in the playoffs for them to have a chance to, compete against the Clippers, the Denver Nuggets type of team. So, you know, it's a taller task for the Phoenix Suns. to compete, but it is possible. And notice how I went with Nuggets, Clippers, and Suns. It's going to take a ton more from the Suns players to compete. Clippers are going to have to just stay healthy, and they'll be fine. And Nuggets just got to keep coasting. Just got to keep coasting, and they'll wind up in the Western Conference, finals, and then they just got to execute at that point. So, I just don't buy a Timberwolves, a Thunder. I can't buy the Mavericks either. I know a lot of people like the Mavericks with Luka. I like Luka a lot. He's been to a Western Conference Finals, but their defense is just terrible. I mean, they're giving up 117 points per game. I mean, their differential is 1.5 points, and they're averaging 118 points. And you know, it's just gonna be hard for teams to be stopped with that type of defense being played. So those are kind of the contenders in the East and West. But I mean the overall favorites for the NBA championship is very, very, very small. I think it's only three teams. I think it's only the Celtics, Nuggets, and I will throw in the Clippers there. I mean, those are the only three teams that I think will have a chance to win an NBA championship this year. I don't see anyone else really having that chance to go win an NBA Finals and hoist the trophy. It's a very slim group of actual title contenders this year, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I do think right now, if I had to pick what the finals will be, I would go Celtics Nuggets, and at that point, to win it all, I don't know. I think I might stick with the Nuggets though. I think Nuggets, as of right now, mid-season going into All-Star break, I think Nuggets have the best chance to win the title this year and possibly will repeat this year. So that's it for right now. Enjoy All-Star break, enjoy the weekend. We'll be back very soon, and Combine's coming up, mock drafts are coming up, and things are getting exciting.